Well, Donald Trump has indicated talks of a ceasefire in Gaza will be high on the agenda when he meets with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Washington next week. Let's go live to our Middle East correspondent Allyson Horn, who is in Jerusalem. Allyson, firstly, what are the provisions of Donald Trump's ceasefire deal, which he says Israel has agreed to, and what's been the response so far from Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, so far we haven't heard anything from the Israeli parliament or from Israeli leaders, but it does appear behind the scenes there are a number of discussions taking place, moving towards what is being described as a breakthrough in a ceasefire deal in Gaza. We don't quite know the exact details of what this ceasefire could be, but there is reporting that it would be along the lines of a 60-day pause in fighting, during which time at least 10 hostages, alive hostages, would be released, as well as the bodies of 18 other hostages, keeping in mind that there are 50 hostages still being held within Gaza at the moment. And during that 60 days, there is the consideration that that's when talks would be held to negotiate a complete end to the war. So any ceasefire deal at this stage isn't hinging on the fact that there would be a complete end to the war, which I think is probably going to create some impediments towards finalising this deal. Donald Trump has kind of left the door open for an end to the war in his latest commentary on social media, saying that he wants to bring about an end to the war, saying that in discussions that Israeli officials have been having this week in Washington, that there has been progress made towards reaching a ceasefire deal, but this is still in the early stages. We expect that there will be some further progress made towards this, though, when Benjamin Netanyahu visits the White House and meets with Donald Trump early next week.
And on the other side of the conflict, Allyson, has there been a response from Hamas?
So Hamas has said it is willing to work towards a ceasefire deal, that it welcomes the opportunity to achieve a ceasefire deal. It's indicated that it'll be having discussions through mediators in Cairo tomorrow. That's on Wednesday local time, likely to be mediated by Qatar, which has been the group at the front of all of these mediations between Israel and Hamas throughout the last 20-odd months or so. America as well would have a large stake in those ongoing negotiations. But I think there will be a number of obstacles that will need to be negotiated to try and bring about this ceasefire. Probably the biggest obstacle would be the complete end of the war. As I just said to you before, the proposal that's on the table right now is more for a cessation of fighting, a 60-day pause, whereas at the end of that pause, Israel could resume its campaign in Gaza, which is indeed what we've seen on the two previous ceasefires that have happened in this region, in Gaza as well. At the end of those ceasefires, Israel has resumed fighting in Gaza. Hamas wants an end to the war, so I would presume that it will be trying to bring about some certainty that at the end of those 60 days, that would mean the end of fighting and the withdrawal of Israeli troops. That's going to be another big challenge in these negotiations, because Israel has long indicated that it wants to keep some sort of military presence within Gaza. We don't have any firm plans on what the day after the end of the war could look like, which from Israel's perspective is not a suitable alternative, given that Hamas has said that it isn't wanting to lay down its arms, and Israel has always said that its main goal in Gaza is to try and disarm Hamas. So there seems to be a number of obstacles that are still in the way of achieving a ceasefire deal, but certainly this is the most positive language that has been spoken about by the United States President. He kind of has pushed out the time frame a little bit, though. He had said that he wanted to achieve a ceasefire deal this week. Now he's pushed that out to next week. Whether or not that is going to be achieved, I don't think there there is any real optimism from anyone on the ground that a ceasefire is necessarily going to happen, but there is certainly a lot of goodwill from people within Israel and Palestinians that is what they want to happen.
And Allyson, one of the things that has shocked the world are the killings of Palestinians near aid distribution points in Gaza, specifically run by the US and Israeli-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. What can you tell us about calls for that group, the GHF, to be disbanded?
So the GHF took over operations distributing aid about a month ago within Gaza. It was set up after the United Nations was bypassed by Israel as the main mechanism of delivering aid to Palestinians in Gaza. So this private entity has been set up to distribute aid, and from the early outsets, Palestinians on the ground in Gaza have been telling us that it has been dangerous and fraught with issues. United Nations officials have condemned this mode of trying to distribute aid, and indeed 150 aid organisations, charities and NGOs have been calling for the GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, to be shut down. They label it inherently unsafe. They say that more than 500 Palestinians have been killed while trying to access aid there. It is, according to Palestinians on the ground, incredibly dangerous for them to go from one part of Gaza a long distance to go to these open-air sites that have been set up and corralled into lines and groups to try and get access to what we've been told is meagre amounts of aid, flour, those sort of things. 500 Palestinians killed, according to locals on the ground and health authorities on the ground. Israel has acknowledged that there has been harm caused. They've stopped short of necessarily taking responsibility for killing Palestinians, although they do say that they haven't been directly shooting at Palestinians. The Palestinians have been harmed and killed in their words. So there has been some acknowledgement and even an investigation launched by Israel's military into the operations surrounding the GHF on the ground and how that is working. But people in Gaza and indeed these NGOs and charities say it's simply not sufficient. It is too dangerous. It is causing too many Palestinians to be killed in the simple act of trying to just get aid to live and to help their families survive. Now, for each part, the GHF has acknowledged the issues. It has said that it believes that these problems will be sorted out soon. It's confident that it can streamline and improve its processes on the ground. We are expecting to hear one of the most public statements from the head of the GHF later today, local time.
Okay, Allyson Horn in Jerusalem, thank you very much for that update.